All right, it's time. Terribly under budgeted Zoom. Howdy, folks. This is the, 34th IWAR Goal Strategy Workshop. I think it's 34th. I should know these things, but half-assing is the way to do it. I'm Matt Riley, the host. I never mentioned this. I'm Matt Riley. This is a game or advice about a game called the IWA. Play IWA.com if you want to follow along. If you're new and you haven't watched the How to Win in the IWA tutorial on YouTube, watch that first. It'll save me a lot of time going, here's what this means, because I'm going to get right into this with Larry in a second. So let me share my screen. There we are. Sharing. Okay. Here we are. So I've left up the chat so I can see people talking in the chat if need be. More people join, that'll be fine. But I was just mentioning a couple of things. We'll talk about as a whole. I think we're doing pretty good with this. I don't know if it's helping a lot or not. I don't know if there's a real correlation, but I do know that the first time that I can think of in the history of the IWAR, even when we split recently, January, Joe Boring won every belt possible in that IWA report. 2 cycles later, Joe Kotuna won Metro, Gold Fed, and Elite. Cycle after that, War Pig won Gold Fed, Elite, and Hardcore. Alex Styles won Metro. And then Dan Van Love, Manuel won Metro. And then Fatty won Elite and Metro. And then Joe Brogan. Joe Brogan. Yes, Joe Brogan, a horrific accident at a plant caused Joe Rogan and Bulk Brogan to merge. He won the Metro. So congrats to Bulk Brogan for that. So I don't think we've ever had a run. So I hope that these are helping. I don't think, these aren't the reason that's happening, but I think it's good to talk about strats. And one thing I want to preview is that not this episode, but in future episodes, I have been talking to some, I guess you would call them IWA experts, better than I am when it comes to.
I thought you were going to say psychics.
Pretty much, kind of. I've been talking to some players that are big roster aficionados. They have a better grasp on some of the nuances. So since some of them can't make this particular event, what I'm working out is they're going to do like a 2 to 3 minute quick tutorial of hey, here's something I look at and here's how I do this, and give kind of a quick maybe even 5 minutes, but just to kind of talk about it. And then I'll kind of piece together a video to go with it. It's really rough stages. I just started talking to people about this, but the idea is to get some more, more tools in your toolbox, as they like to say in the training world. Because I think that, what we're going to talk about today, and this was Larry's idea, so I'm blaming him, but I agree with it. I actually agree with this because I was driving my car and I was in traffic, which was horrific the other day. And I was thinking about what's steel going to drop. And my thought was, well, probably whatever will cause the most problems in the rest of the game. And when you said that earlier, Larry, about, whatever will cause the most chaos, I kind of think that's the way to go. So I'm going to try that this cycle. Do you want to talk about your theory on that?
Well, I wouldn't even call it my theory because I've had a few people help me out with this stuff. But I guess I look at 2 things. One of them is, and this may be common knowledge to the rest of you guys, so forgive me, but I look at what dropped in iron and what dropped in steel. And if there's a common drop, for instance, if you look at spring cycle, the iron drop was 28.26. The steel drop was 28.28. So that's a lot of 28s, but there's no 27 or 29. So it could have gone either way. But what I like to do is I look at those 2 things, and if there's enough of one drop, I will eliminate that. So for instance, May 29.28 in iron, 29.26 in steel. I ruled out 29 and it was 27.26. It doesn't work every time, but if you go back and you're tracking all the feds, more often than not, if there's a common drop in iron and steel, you can most likely say, okay, well, it's not gonna happen in gold. And so for me, this coming cycle, I see the 29 dropped in iron and steel. And so I'm looking hard at drops that don't have a 29 in it. That could backfire very easily. It has before, but that's one of the tools I use when I'm just looking to eliminate stuff.
Right, and you actually shared your little tracker for everything, which I of course tried to create my own version of it and botched it, and like I ended up with like 27, 26 back to back in gold. I'm like, I screwed this up. That's great. So I'll have to borrow it again. But I think
Well,
we look at it that way.
And then with the bottom three feds, what I'll do is I'll see what's dropping in diamond, bronze, and jade. And I have noticed a pattern where the IWA, when it comes to at least gold, I don't really look to see how it applies to iron and steel, but at least gold, the gold drops tend to be whatever makes life most difficult for people playing bottom three federations.
Right.
So last cycle, our drop was 27-26, which dropped the previous cycle in bronze, 2 cycles in jade, and 3 cycles in diamond. So that really completely screws those 3 federations over when it comes time for them to try to pick a drop. So that's another thing. Again, this is all in the spirit of what can I eliminate? How do I get these drop combos down to the smallest possible number? Also because I run a small roster, so I'm always looking for ways to maximize the number of guys I have and try to hit the right drops.
Right. And you know, I think I've got the screen shared. And what I've kind of done is as I always do, is I have the breakout over this side with, you know, what the various drops options are. And then I have in the middle here, I have kind of showing the pairings. I've decided to rule out 29, 27. So even though that's a viable option, who knows, it could hit, but I don't think it will. So I'm going to ignore 29, 27 as an option. It was also 3 cycles ago, and they haven't been keen on a 3-cycle drop in a while. So knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But we have our 28s, 28, 27, 28, 26, and 26s. So there's some options out there. And I've just lettered real quickly when I was thinking about, you know, pairing combos. This 1 and 8 jumped out at me. So I went, okay, 1 and 8. How do we get there? So on over here, what I've done is I always kind of do this now is I break down where I think the holds might go value-wise, like what that value is going to do. So I put a question mark, and a little addition, a little wrinkle on this is if I think 1 and 8 are my top choice as the drop, I think 1 and 46 could be my backup. And if that happens, that means 46 won't, you know, be the one that goes to 28. So I kind of work around it. So I just did that with the first, you know, 10 here, so to speak. And I have my pairings, and I kind of did this earlier, so I wanted to, you know, I always think back to when I was a kid, there was a show called Captain Bob, and he was this like local dude who painted, and it was a show for kids, and they would teach you stuff, right? So, but the thing was, he would show you like the screen, like you draw a big circle, and then 2 little circles for feet, and then the head of the bear, right? And then he would go back from commercial, and it was all done. I was like, what the hell? So when I look at this, this is my version of it where I'm showing you that all these numbers I've broken down. So what I've done, a little wrinkle here for this. Wrinkle's a word of the day, apparently. Must be from going to the pool today. So over here, this chart that I'm moving, that is what those hold values went up to. So meaning like 25 went to 28, 29 in May. It went to 28, 29 in spring, and 27, 29 in April. So I think to myself, I don't think 25 is going to go to 29 again. They're going to do a little wrinkle thing, and they're going to throw a little curveball at us. So I've got it predicted out at either 27, 28 or 26, 27. So it's going to be, you know, lesser. You know, they like to throw things at us that screw with us, you know, in a sense. And I say they're throwing things at us, but I mean, like, if you're doing a tag team strategy flow and you're counting on 25 to hit 28, and instead it goes 27, 26, well, your perfect point flow has been shot. It's done. I'm not saying I don't think it will go to 27, 26, but I think it'll be a 27, 28 combo. I don't think it's going to go 29 again. That's 3 cycles in a row with 29, and that's strong. I just think they'll break that pattern. And I went through all these holds and kind of did that with this. So you have, like 30, 28, 29, 26, 29. And then what I would do is I go through here, I'd say, okay, let's look at this side of what it went to, and then kind of look over here. So, when I say like, okay, we talk about the ups and down pairings. So here we have our ups and down pairings. Oops, damn it. Let me just do this. So right now, 8 and 33, if one of these two would be the pairing, would go back down to 25. So, it's always kind of consistent. You see that happen a lot where they handcuff, if you will, like 45 over here, 45 went 25, 29, 25, 33 went up, went down, went up, went down. I think they're going to move over to 8. And 8's going to be the one that goes to 25. So that's part A. I know everyone's probably wanting to say this. I don't think 12 will go down to 25 again, just because I think they've tortured us enough with that one. It's leave it in the ground for a while, let it percolate, and then bring Jason Voorhees back in the fall. That's fine. But with one has been pretty mediocre to not great for a while, and they did this with 59 for a while. You gotta remember, 59 was kind of like tepid for a long time, and then it hit 25, and then it went back up to 30. So it was kind of all over the place. Just my kind of quick picks. All right, Larry, do you have any thoughts on this little random mess here?
Yeah, no, well, not on that random mess, but I agree on the one thing, because I'm looking at one as sort of like a new version of 12, where every other cycle, you're waiting for 12 to drop to 25, and it keeps happening,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're wondering where the cliff is.
Right.
And for me, I've been looking at one for a while now. Even if you look at your chart right now, you see green and yellow with every other hold, and one has just kind of ridden consistently. Never went to 29, never went to 20, never went to 30, obviously, it never went to 25. So for whatever reason, my eye's on that, and they may pull a move where yet another cycle goes by and one goes to 28. And, if you have it, you got screwed. But I do feel like that's the next hold to take a turn and either help you or hurt you.
Right. And again, I think we always try to figure, like when I talk about the handcuffing, that, both going up or going down. So conversely, I don't think we're going to see a 30 come out of either 22 or 31. Just for a while, 30 came from 27 for a long time last year, like crazy a lot, like 9 cycles. If Ryan was here, he would be like, it was 8 cycles, and he would know perfectly. So, trying to figure out and jump on that wagon before it gets popular is great. Like if I had played and left 12 as off my grid for a while, I would have been really a lot better this spring. Oh well. So this here is my hard combo option. So what I'll do is I'll build one of my strategies. I think I gave it to Atari last time, or Stevens, one of the two. And I mapped out okay, if this is a perfect point flow, if I got these picks right, then I can put, 33 at 1, 53 at 2, and so forth. And I'll be able to get a perfect point flow. If it happens, great. But if not, I almost never go back and look at my strategies once the scores break. I just kind of look at it, unless I have a huge score drop and I'm like, whoa, that was a mistype. That does happen every so often, by the way. If you're new to the IWA, you might not know that, but they do make typos every so often, and it's not fun. But I want to move down here, because I think this is the harder part of this cycle right now, is what the back 5 are going to do. And I see it a lot, especially I think it was Bulk Slogan. Scott was saying he would nail the front 10 and be like, yeah, and then the back 5 be like, ugh, just terrible. So 73 and 85 both being at 41. And the reason I bring this up is that both of these have been traditionally strongholds for quite some time. So one of these is going to go to probably 43, and it's going to go up. But do either of these go to 44? And I'm going to bring this over here so we can look at it because I can't see with the chat room. Okay. Let's see. Looking at 73, so 43.3, and again, the average is kind of like not a serious determining factor. Just kind of look and see. Okay, so they've both been pretty strong for quite some time. One of these is going to improve, and I've been feeling like we are due for that like crazy shitstorm cycle where like they reset the holds and 2 holds drop and 2 holds come up for months now, and just hasn't happened. As they always do it in iron, and everyone knows it's coming after that point, and it's like, oh great. So which of these two do we think is going to go up, and which is going to just be like, yeah, or are they both going to be like, go to 42? Like that happened a few cycles back where like both 41s went to 42. It was like, ugh. Larry, do you have a gut feeling as either a 42 going to 44 or 41 going to 44?
Well, I've been burned too many times now in a row by convincing myself that a 42 was going to make that jump and just put me on the title page, and it hasn't happened. So I think this cycle I've got to go safe and go with a 41. Yeah.
And what I traditionally do, because I have people who ask questions about like, oh, I had a player email me about a month ago. It was right after one of these, and the question was, how do you decide like who gets which 41? Like if you have one title shot, who gets? I said, well, you go with the gut. Like Darren typed in here, 73. 73 is my gut feeling, only because, and this sounds silly, but I feel like 83 is still in play, whereas 73 is the only 70 hold. I don't know. I will say I don't think they do as much mixing up of the bottom 5. Maybe I'm just not aware of this because I'm inept. But like the front 10 gets that shakeup cycle where like, oh, okay, everything's resetting, and 50 is now in play again, or 32 is in play again, and now 31's dead, or 22 is terrible. But I think 73 is the way to go. That's my gut, and I always say, go with your gut. I mean, worst case scenario, like if you have 2 title shots, then do similar. If you're really convinced, like let's say for example, I say 1 and 8 are my choice. I'm going to go 1 and 8 as my A choice. I'm going to give it to LePage Turner or Atari or Barry Stevens or whoever, right? If I feel like that's my A choice, and I go, I'm going to give Barry Stevens 1 and 8, and I'm going to give LePage Turner. Actually, no, who's my Fatty? I'll give Fatty 1 and 8, right? So they both have 1 and 8, but they're going to have 13. One's going to be 73. One's going to be 85, and that's the best you can do. You can say, well, I'm going to probably end up having either a 498 or a 492 and a 493. Like it's going to be a point off here or there, unless there's a huge swing. Like if we get double 42s, oh well, that's what happens. But let's say for sake of argument, we're gonna play along here.
These cycles where 90s at a 45 always suck too, because it feels like it's a little extra tricky to pick your bottom 5.
So we're going to say that 85 goes to 42, and we'll leave it at that. So that means one of these guys goes to 41. So which of these 42s is it? I'm going to say 66 goes to 41, just because it hasn't been there long. And they'll say 83 goes to 43. So you're like, suck city with 42s, which I hate 42s. The longest time I used 42s, and Randall Angel was like, oh, I never used those. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, because best case scenario, you get 2 points, whereas the 41s, you're going to go up automatically. You're not going to lose points. That's all those titles, among other reasons. And Randall, if you're listening, where are you, dude? We miss you. So 43s, let's crack through this one here. One of these two is going to go to 45. So we could have either 67, which would be the up factor going, bouncing up. So if we think of these two holds, 67, 62, are they both going to go to 45 again? We see that down with 65 and 90, they were paired up and going, up, down, up, down. If you look over here on the allergies, thanks, Flonase. Of course, I have the windows open. It's at night and it's like, breezy, fantastic. At least it's not boiling hot. How hot is it there, Larry?
I can tell you right now, I think we're like 61 degrees.
Wow, it's probably better than here, but it's actually probably in the 60s, if I had to guess. And I will, because that's what I do.
We don't get summer until September. The country is starting to like get into the holidays, then it turns like 95 degrees and stays that way until Thanksgiving's done.
It's 70 here, so. But I always Scott Franklin will always be like, like telling me how awful the heat is there. And I remember when I was in Georgia with him, it was like that hot, muggy heat. Like just ugh. When I was out in California a few times, it's always been very nice, especially at night. It's so nice in California. But that's before it was burning. So
yeah, we got that
California. Anyways, getting back on topic. So do we think either 62 or 67 are going to go to 45? What do you feel about that? They put you on the spot.
62 or 67?
Yes, they were 45 2 cycles ago. I have 62 going to 45 again in my gut, which tells me
this is why I feel like I'm lost, because I look at both of those, and because they both went to 45 a cycle ago, I start to look at 63 and 61, and maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like at least one of those they're gonna swerve us with one of those.
I agree, and I actually think it's gonna be 63, and here's why. 61 blows. F61. It's the 12 of the bottom. Every time I was like,
pretty awful.
This is the cycle 61 comes back. It was like 41, F you. Great. So let's say, for sake of argument here, that so that one's out. So that means we have our 45s at 63 and 62. 61 and 42. So that leaves us 43 can go down to 41. And look at that. Ta-da! There's our rough pick for what we want to use. So that's it in a nutshell right there. Do we know this for sure? No, but I agree with you. I had the same feeling that they're going to take either 61 or 63, like the weaker of the 44, 43 combo, and jump one of them up. I would say this, if they, was it Jade that did double 43s, or somebody did double 43s, went to 45 last cycle?
That I don't know. For Jade, Bronze, and Diamond, I only track the drops. I don't track like what every hold did.
Well, I mean, that's okay. I mean, I think, one thing I always feel that is if the front end is very predictable, the back 5 won't be, so maybe that's where we're looking at here. We're looking at, and plus this cycle coming up is state wrestling, I believe, right? This is the cycle for state wrestling.
I think it is, yeah.
So, that means we're going to see a lot of variety, I think, because they want to make, a lot of different winners. It's like one of the sillier games, but people like doing it, and it's like, well, all right, it's fine. So I think that you're going to see some shenanigans, and I think the shenanigans in gold, I think, is going to be, the weaker 63 jumping up. And if I look over here, 63, has been pretty terrible for a long time. Like, it hasn't hit 45, and 67 has been, decent to terrible. But I just think if you're looking at this, 62 hits 45 again and starts becoming strong again. But again, as always, it's a hunch. We're rolling the dice. The anyways, watching the workshop, I used to wonder that it's 33 degrees there. Holy shit! Oh yeah, Darren, you're in Canada, right? think you're in Canada, correctly. Um, uh, um, I think a lot of this comes down to just going with your gut. People always say like, "Oh, what do you do?" You know, I've made a little chart over here. I use this in the NWL. This is the basic strategy. What I've done here, and this actually is a good cycle to use this, is I use both 29s, and then you end up having either a 27, 26, or 28 combo drop. Perfect time. So uh, I'll say perfect timing with the asterisk that 29, 27 drops. Um, this is a simple formula. This is not going to guarantee you a probably perfect point flow by any means, but you know, you see here I use the basic like 67, 62, going with the odds on favorites, like the more likely. So that tells me that, you know, my gut feeling is because I did this, it's probably going to be 63, you know, and for a lot of players, you know, I see the newer players come in NWL and they rank out these 483s and 491s and it's like 492s, and they keep doing that. And you know, I remember there was a couple of guys I had to talk to and talk them out of changing their strategies. Like they wouldn't change them. And you know, it just not changing a strategy. You might get a 500 once a year. Not doing that because it's you waited it out. It's like a lottery ticket, you know. But the either way, you got to kind of be fluid and change the times. And you know, we learned a hard lesson with 12, and now I think we're looking at some more changes. I really feel that, you know, maybe in July or maybe later in the summer, we're going to see some really like the big shakeup. We're overdue for it. If I actually go to my old gold chart, go down here and I can kind of show you back. So 2020. Oh, I'm not going to upgrade. 10 minutes left. I just want to knock that out. So 2019. So you see here, 2019, it was May of 2019 when the last time we had the shakeup. And 32 and 50 went kerplunk, and then 53 and 8 came into play. Let me see if I can find.
The good news is you do see it coming because it happens in iron, like Matt said, and then it happens in steel.
Right.
And there's usually, I'm trying to remember because it has been a while since I did it, but there's usually a pattern as to which holds in iron and steel dropped, I should say, come up, and you can find it. I'm trying to remember what it is about the holds where you can kind of determine which 24 and which 23 are going to make the jump.
Right.
I that's only helpful if I can actually tell you how you can determine it, but I know you can. There's some pattern that you can see in which 24 and which 23 did it in iron and steel. So it's not the worst thing in the world when it happens, but it is, you know, and you have a brand new set of holds to start tracking.
Not the worst thing in the world for us in gold. The guys that play in iron, I couldn't do that again. We have time running out, 8 minutes left. So a couple of other things, you know, I mentioned state wrestling is coming up. So the record for IWAR state titles was 28, which at the time I think we had 7 leagues in the IWAR. So, you know, it's a long shot, but we can try, you know, and I'm going to do it, try to have some fun with it, you know. It's nonsense, but it's fun. But you can see here, I also put a basic tag flow. And this is just, again, to give players, a lot of players ask about tag teaming and, you know, maximizing their points. And I said the biggest thing is make sure that you don't double up your holds, you know, opposite each other. So don't put your 25, both wrestlers at 1. Put 1 at 20, put 125 at 1, 1 at 2. Well, actually, in this case, 25 was just 30. So you want to put it at like number 3 or number 5, as I have over here. But you see what I do is I mirror these. So what you do by mirroring is you maximize the chance that you're going to get the most points. So if you have 2 29s there and one's going to go to 30, then you're going to hit that, right? It's a simple way to play it. And, you know, the guys who do like 6-man wrestling, I gotta have one of those guys on the show because those guys have like 8 gazillion 6-man titles. And I always look at like I look at the IWA report and be like, how are there 30 people that won the IWA 6-man championship? How is it that easy? I've never won one. I mean, I'm terrible, so that's part of it. But also, it's like, you know, it just that many people win, like, or like winning it for like 30 consecutive cycles. Like, how do you just like? Do you just have? Do you just have, you know, 50 team like different sets of strats up and just kind of go and you know, with it, the important thing about the where you place the holds is think about this. If you have a 6-man team and you have the first wrestler has a 29 hole, like, you know, like for us you have here, like 29 A, B, right? If the third wrestler has a 29 at 3, and then they have a 29 at 1, and you kind of move things around, right? You know, to maximize your points. If you count 2 teams per fed, it's easy at 6 every cycle. So here's the fun. Here's the crazy question. Why do we have the championship if everyone can win it? But me. I will say, if I ever win the goddamn out of a 6-man championship, I'll be of a parade. And it'll be well earned. I mean, it'll be a parade of me just walking around like an idiot, but that's nothing new. Larry, what do you think of your thoughts on tag team and 6-man flowing and all that stuff?
I mean, don't ask me.
Good. It's a good teaming up.
I just lost. I just became goldless. So don't do what I do, kids.
Oh, well.
I do. I mean, I always, well, for tag team stuff, unless you want to get really complicated with it, I do tend to just grab a pair and drop them, you know, be it the 27s or the 28s or the 26s. It's usually the simplest way to attack it. The back 5 on a tag strat is like the easiest thing in the world. You're basically just doing both 44s, both 43s, and then give, you know, mirror your 44s and your 43s, and then give each one of your tag guys one of the 45s.
Right.
And you're pretty much guaranteed to have a solid back 5. But yeah, I just usually pick a pair. And again, it's like it's all gut. It's like, what do you think's going to drop? Sometimes it's tricky if you know you're going to drop 27s. Up until recently, 127's been going to 30. So you start to question, okay, well, is that the combo I want to drop? Because I might get one of the 25s, but I might also end up losing out on one of the 30s. So that's something to keep an eye on with tag stuff is what are the combos that have been dropping, or I'm sorry, that have been going to 30 as well as what's been dropping to 25.
Yeah, I think the only time that approach of 44s and 43s bites you is when they do double, like both 43s go to 45. You know,
yeah,
that's
but it's
time
playing the odds,
right? And I look at it like if that happens, like with the Von Schnapps, for the longest time, I ran this exact kind of formula, and they were very successful. And then what happened that everybody started doing is it started really shaking up what 25 was doing. So when 25 was going to, 29, or they started splitting it. So like, well, they're both like 25 is going to 28 and 29. So, unless you're like really accurate where you're putting them, you're not going to have a perfect point flow. But that's just part of the game.
one other, I don't know how are we out of time at this point?
3 minutes.
All right. One other thing I noticed when I was just taking a look at my possibilities is if you look at gold for 2021, you'll see that except for January, which was the double 26s, the double 26s dropped. From February on, every cycle, you'll notice that one of the holds combos carries over into the next cycle. So from February to winter, it was 29. And then from winter to March, it was 28. And then March, April 20. And so 27 kept going. So now you're looking at, we're coming off of spring had double 27s. And then May had 27, 26. So if you're looking for that sort of next link in the chain, that's why I'm keeping an eye on 26. Because I feel like 27s dropped as part of the drop combo for 4 cycles now.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying 27 won't drop, but I am sort of eyeing 26 as one of the drops
Okay.
this coming cycle. So again, do I know that this is like, accurate and for sure? Obviously not, but it's just, again, for me, another way to eliminate potential drops.
Cracking the code with Larry.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Our
line.
new segment. You're gonna get a visit from the IWA, like, this is Kim. You're not too much. You are kicked out of game.
The needle to the neck in the trunk of the car.
Yeah, the total package U.S. mail will show up at your door.
Oh, also, by the way, a quick shout out. If any of you guys are in a really good mood and you want to get out of that good mood, watch the Grizzly Smith family Dark Side of the Ring. It is one of the most pressing hours of television I've ever sat through. I literally wanted to curl up into a ball and forget I ever saw it. It's good TV, but it's really just, it puts dark in Dark Side of the Ring.
All right, and I will counter that with I've been watching the A&E biographies, and I started watching Steve Austin. It's really been fun.
Yeah, the Mick Foley one that they did last week is also really good.
I got that taped. So, all right, we have less than a minute left, so we'll close this up. But once again, state wrestling is coming up, so make sure you join that if you want to be in it. Good luck to everybody. You can see we've come up with. So hopefully somebody will hit big, and we'll have an IWA report hit for one of our guys. So good luck, everybody. I will catch you in a few weeks. Remember, Monday morning, 9 a.m., get your stuff in. Thanks, guys.
Good luck Tuesday.